Hey guys, I'm going to show you how to install a Ghost Trolling Motor on your boat. I've already installed the HTS units in a live target, but on installing one of these motors, from my experience, I've learned a lot of little tricks that I'm going to show you how to do this properly. Also, at the end of every month on Fridays, I'm going to have this episode called What Would Ellen Do? So you could comment me on electronics, fishing, anything you want, put it in the comment box and I will get back with you. Let's get this motor installed. Finally got my Ghost motor on Lowrance with a 47-inch shaft, and I'm going to show you guys how to install it. I'll put it on my 20-foot ring. So this package here has all the materials that we're going to use to mount the motor. From NMEA cable, you got to put the shock on. This is a stud to hold the motor from pounding. We've got NMEA, so this is the part where I'll be hooking it up to the HTS units in the boat and also the live target. So this is going to sync the live target. Yesterday I had the boat out with the old Minn Kota motor and it kept floating on us. It would point in different directions. And then we found out that it not talking to the fish finder, it would also give you those false readings. So this is supposed to correct it. This is a GPS antenna for the Ghost motor. So having one of these Ghost motors with the HTS unit also would also enable you to course lock. So if I wanted, I could set this thing on a heading and it'll keep track and keep going on that course. If you don't have the HTS unit in either a carbon or live, it won't work. So you have to have a carbon or live, and it has to be a 20.3 in the software issue before it'll talk to each other. And you can get that done, or you can do it online. But it's once you have this whole system hooked up, hopefully we'll get this on the water and show you guys how it works. Because I can actually have someone that doesn't know how to work a foot control motor sit at the bow, and I could sit on the back console there and touch the screen and drive the motor for them. And like they were doing it themselves up front. Pretty neat stuff. Get it on. Okay. I took the bracket out, and one of the things about getting it open is kind of tricky. And it's hard. You can yank this all you want like you normally will, and it won't open. Trick is you can come inside here. You see this little silver lever? Push it down. You pull the cord out this way. You push this lever down and pull. That's simple. Otherwise, you'll beat your brain trying to get this thing up. And once you got it open it all the way up. Set it over here in place. And we're ready to bolt it down and get this thing mounted. Now, so if you had a Minn Kota or a Motor Guide trolling motor on your boat, 90% the bolt holes are the same. All three manufacturers use the same bolt pattern. But you want to put this on there and check anyway. So one of the most important things is I set it up on here. I'm matching the holes and they all match. But it's just very critical that you make sure that this clears the front. So then you set it. I'm matching the bolt hole patterns. Pop the bracket. And watch your fingers because it's like a scissors. Set it down. And the motor's going to clamp on here, and I'll have plenty of clearance on the front. So this is okay. So 90% of the time, if you take a motor off, the bolt pattern is the same. You can put it back. You can either use 4 or 6 bolts. I've mounted a lot of them with 4 bolts and had no problem with them. But if you could get 6, put 6. The problem is when you reach underneath here, you have to be able to get to those bolts, and sometimes it's pretty hard. This boat has a big opening here so I could get my arm in, so I will put 6 bolts on this one. So make sure you get this strap on. It's going to go underneath here, and it's going to just strap your motor down when you got it stowed. Another thing is, I want to put a live target The Ghost motor has a 2D and a down scan that I'm going to use on the meter. But I'm also going to use this live target. So it's going to go up probably, they tell you to use this thing as high to the water line as you could get. So it's probably going to be almost to where the transducer swivels. So I want to put this strap down here on the bottom so I make sure I have the clearance for the live target. So we're going to mount the bracket down. So you want to put a washer so to keep the bolt from pulling through, and you want to use a Loctite nut once they have the plastic certs so it don't come loose. So I'm reaching in there. You got to do everything by feel because you can't see. Okay, now that I got all the nuts on the bottom, I'm just going to take my drill, nut them down. And when you do this, you want to crisscross the pattern. So I start here, I got 6, I'm going to go here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You never want to tighten them all down, because if you tighten them in sequence like here and here and here, most likely the bracket's going to be kiltered and you'll have trouble lifting it up and down. So just crisscross. So we've got the motor bracket mounted on securely. Now we're going to put the shock on. So this is the thing that lets the motor up and down really easy. So I'm going to put this bolt through here. And then you're going to take one of these little nuts, and you notice they have Loctite on there, so don't come loose. And these you just snug up as tight as you can get it. And then you got to put the top side on it. And the only way you can get the top side on is you have to take this bracket, pop it loose, and keep lifting it down until the holes line up. And if you sat there and tried putting it in the other way, you'd be there all day. So remember, when you're putting it on, just tilt the bracket, otherwise you'll never get it on there, because you can't pull this shock out. You have to do it when it's in its locked position. Alright, look, all done. The bracket goes down. And see this? See how hard it is? See how it pops up? So when you have that motor on there and you pop it, it pops up all by itself. Goes in a stole position. It locks. You're all done. That's the shock. And we'll go to the next thing. Okay, we're getting ready to put the motor on, so I'm going to push this bracket down and stow it. You can push it down and hit it as hard as you want. It's not going to go down without the motor on. Right here, you're going to see this little spring, this little lever right here. See this little aluminum? You tilt it up like that, the motor goes right down, locks in place. The motor can't do it. So you come up here in front, you're going to see these 2 Allen wrench. Take these screws out. There's 2 of them. This is the only thing that holds that motor onto this bracket, is these 2 bolts. Because you see these slots right here? So the motor's going to come in, you're going to slide it down, it'll lock in place, you put the 2 nuts on there and you're done. Okay, now we're ready for the motor. I suggest you leave this loose so you can move it, because when it's on the trailer here, this trailer will get in the way. So basically I'm going to take this, see these slots, lift the motor up, tilt it, goes in the slot, let it down, done. So all I'm doing is just tighten these Allen wrenches down. Like I said, that's the only thing that holds them, but it actually has the slots in the bracket here that take all the weight. So these nuts, all they are, just keep it from sliding on. Snug them down real tight. Alright, now we're going to put the motor support. Because see this? So the motor has play in it, so that obviously they all have to have a little play or they'll probably break the bracket. But what this does is it's a support that keeps all the weight. So basically you got to cut it because it's made for all different length bolts. So put the thread upside down, put it there. You want it about 1 inch taller than this bracket right here. So I'm going to just visualize where it is and I'm going to put a piece of tape on it. And then I'm going to check it and make sure. So I got about maybe 1 inch over the top of it. And then I'm going to go cut it. Okay, so I cut the bar. You take this rubber boot, put it on the bottom so it protects your carpet on the bottom. Then I'm going to screw this bolt on all the way to the bottom till it bottoms out. Then pop this bracket. Screw this on here. You let it back down. And then you adjust it. So see how it's bouncing? You don't want it to bounce. So I'm going to back it down.
Yeah, that'd be cool if you guys could take like a set measurement for the doors,
Like that. Take this nut. Tighten it down and I'll get on it after and tighten it. There we go. We're going to put the brackets to hold the cable in place. So you're going to see there's 2 little holes. You're going to take these little nuts and you're going to put it in there. Just like that. So you see the hole right there. I'm going to drop the screw inside here. Take the Allen wrench. Line it up. Tighten it down. Okay, we're ready to power up the trolling motor. So this is a 36 volt system. One thing about Lowrance trolling motors is brushless. So you could either do 24 volts or 36. So one of the things I will caution you right now, I have a switch on my trolling motor to kill the power here, because you do not want to be tightening these 2 screws with 36 volts here, because when you put a wrench in between, it'll arc. So unhook the one battery, or if you have a switch, take it off. And all I'm doing now is I'm going to hook the trolling motor to give it the power. Come on, finger. But make sure you don't have any voltage going to these wires. I probably could have just used regular butt connectors, you know, but this already was on the boat, so I'm just hooking it back up the way it was. But actually, I could have just put these butt connectors right here and just hooked them to the wires. So, but I'm putting it back like the way it was. Make sure you put the red on the positive and the black on the negative. You want to make sure these are really tight so that they don't pop loose, because these things are so close. If one of these jumped over and touched there, you'd be doing some welding. So make sure they're tight. Put the lid back down, and now I got power. That's all done, and we'll get to the rest of the wiring. I have a foot pedal. I hooked the power up, which is the black and red. Then we're going to have 3 more cables coming out of this foot pedal. This one has an adapter in the box for Lowrance. So this is a transducer that's built in this lower unit right here, this bullet. That's your 2D and down scan, and that's this connector. This one is for the heading sensor for the trolling motor. So this is going to be bolted, and see this arrow has to be pointed straight, so I'm going to bolt that down in a minute. And the third one is for a NMEA. So in order for that motor to talk to live target and to the trolling motor and to the fish finder, you have to hook up the NMEA. So this is what this other cable is for. So we're going to hook this NMEA up. So into there. And I'm going to show you real quick. This is 10 in here. NMEA in the boat. The other day I ran a cable from the NMEA here to the back fish finder and to the front one. So I'm going to plug this in here. And then this one's going to go up to my fish finder. This one here is running to the back to the fish finder. So I'm going to have a link from fish finder to each one into this cable into the trolling motor. And then they're all going to talk. So we'll get that all hooked up. I'm running into a problem. So on the fish finders, they have a male end. And on this cable here, I have a male end. So I need a female end. So what has to be done is you have to get another T, and I'm going to plug it in to this T. And so now I got a male, I got a female here. Put that in there. The female can go to the fish finder. This one has to be capped with a resistor, so you got to put a 120 ohm resistor on it here, otherwise it won't work. So basically I had to add another T just to get a female so I could run these. And then if you add other items to your boat, like if you wanted to put any other gauges and stuff on your boat, you could keep adding these T's, but you always have to make sure you cap them off. And so you could, I mean, I've seen both with 6 of these in them. So this is all I'm going to need. They're there, and then I have to get a cap. This will go to the unit. So here we have the resistor caps. You notice the end, male, female. So whatever one you need, so like here I got the male, so I need the female. So I'm going to stick this resistor on here. And now that completes the circuit. No open ends. Okay, now I'm going to install the live target. So basically I haven't had this motor in the water yet, but I can pretty much guess where I'm going to put it. So they tell you to keep it as high to the top of the water column as you can. So what I'm going to do is I'm in forward mode. I'm going to put it about right here. One thing about these Ghost motors is you could adjust it, program it, but you have to have the NMEA cable hooked up to it, so the prop is always in or out. So as soon as you lift the motor up, the prop's going to turn inside and the motor will set down, so you don't break this off, because if it was the opposite way, this would get knocked off. So you can program it. If you don't have the NMEA, then make sure that that motor is pointed to the left before you pull it up, and then it'll slow with the prop in. But if you have the NMEA, you can program it so that it'll always stove with the prop inside. So when I'm strapping this down, I like to use plastic ties. So I'm going to strap it. I like to do it 2 times on the bottom here. See this joint? So the motor shaft turns. So I want to strap this down. I'm going to put about a 6-inch loop so the motor will have turn. Won't get tight and break your big wire. If you want to secure these, I usually do it every 6 inches because you don't want it getting clipped off in here. Then where I have it going into the boat here, I'm going to lift that off and then tuck the wires in so it looks neat. Okay, make sure when you hook this module up that the arrow is pointed forward. Last but least, I'm putting the prop on. So this is the last thing to go on. Got all the wires all strapped down, everything's looking good. Get both the prop down. If you're fishing brackish water, they make a retaining nut that goes on here that's anodized so it won't rust. So after you get everything hooked up, I recommend going to the units, you turn them on, you're going to hit the page button, which is the top one on the left, and you're going to hit this little pinwheel, which is your setup. You're going to scroll up here to see restore defaults. Make sure those 3 are checked, hit OK. So now the units are resetting. So what happens is when they're restarting, it's going to ask you a bunch of questions, and the system's going to ask you if you want to find its own networking, and you just say yes, and then everything will sync. So right now it rebooted, so you want to restart retail mode, you say no. Configure this device, yes. Miles, lakes, regular fishing, finished. Data sources reformed, connect and power up all network devices. So this thing's going to know that I have a live target, it's going to know I have a ghost trolling motor on it, and it's going to know I have another fish finder by hitting OK. And then I'm going to switch charts, not now. And now all the units are synced. So they should be all talking to each other right now. Go over here. So this one, because I'm using a ghost, I'm going to go in here and then I'm going to hit sonar, and I'm going to hit installation, and I'm going to go transducer type. See how it says HMDI-9? -9 means that it's the transducer that's built in that ghost trolling motor. So then it's already in there, so I could just cancel out. So I know this front unit is reading that transducer on that motor. This unit here on this source, on these HDSs, you know, maybe later in time when we start getting on the water, I'll go through more of it. But I could tell this unit to read the transducer in the back. I could tell it to read the one in the trolling motor. I could tell it to use the down scan, the side scan in the back of the boat. The ability to do anything you want on each fish finder, no matter what you have hooked on it, front or back. So we'll get to that later in the future.